Got Brian Uphold and Bill Gover a week ago, who remember had been with us for 6 consecutive weeks. Now Bob Kelly and Peter Flynn will try to start a little streak of their own. You know what's at stake. $500 goes to the winning team, $300 to the runners-up, and for any combination of 3 marks in a row, an extra $50 in bonus money. Our defending champs here were able to pick up an extra $250 in bonus money by stringing all kinds of marks together last week. And they were also able to pick up an extra $200 for exceeding the $275 total for 2 strings with a $288 a week ago. So that's the possible bonus money you can win. In addition to a $1,000 payoff for 3 strikes in a row, we can see if we'll be able to do that too. Let's get on with the bowling now. Bob Kelly and Peter Flynn trying to defend their championship. Bob Kelly and Peter Flynn were able to get off to a quick start last week and open up a 20-pin lead in the opening string. Gary Duffett now. Gary was last with us a year ago with Bob Friel. He admits to being here only for a cup of coffee, though. Bob Kelly opens with a mark, as he did a week ago. And Gary Duffett. Maybe, yep. Ever cool, he looked away and didn't even look at the 10-pin going down, knowing full well that it would. Matching marks in the opening box. Bob Kelly is from Stoneham. He works as a letter carrier, has a high single of 210. Gary Duffett is married with 3 children. He's from Hudson, New Hampshire.
All right, work it out.
Gary has a high single of 199, a high triple of 485, and a 126 average. Well, he had some pretty thin hits on the spares, respective fills of 2 and 3. Two-pin lead for Bob Kelly. Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke are representing the Londonderry Bowling Center in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Champs add a couple of more pins to the lead. 4 pins now after 3. Bob Kelly with the best shot at spare here, and he misses it completely. Gary Duffett's got the 4 horsemen left side plus the 9. And they all go but the 9. Gary with a 10. So they pick up a couple of pins. 41 to 39 through 4. That's the way to finish up. Gary Duffett takes a seat as he sets up Tim Lipke with a strike in the 5th. Bob Kelly now looking over the triangle left side for spare. No. Bob looking for the 8-pin and finds the 8-pin for a 9 and an even 50 at the halfway mark. Well off the pace of a week ago when they opened up with a 143 in the opening string. It would mean coming up with 92 pins now in the final 5 in order to get there. So at the halfway mark, here is how things stand. Bob Kelly and Peter Flynn are defending champions of 1 week at 51. And our challengers, Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke at 49 plus. A couple of bonus. Two of the opener now. Peter Flynn, who had a big finish in the opening string a week ago to set up the 20-pin lead, will try to do the same thing here. And Tim Lipke now. Tim is working on a strike. Tim carries a 130 average. He has a high single of 200 and a high triple of 515. So he adds 9 to the strike. 58 through 5 and a 7-pin lead at the halfway mark for the challengers. And a couple of 9s in the 6th. $67 to 60 through 6 now. Peter Flynn's having trouble with his first ball. Not so with Tim Lipke. He's looking at a spare in the making. The 2 and 4. Nope, hold it. Peter takes a 10, and so does Tim Lipke. Still a 7-pin spread with 3 to go. Peter Flynn only needs the head pin in order to get a spare here. And the champs have their first mark since the opening box. Right down the chute. Tim Lipke works at the Londonderry Bowling Center. He's married with 2 children. And just to prove it could be done again, a 4-box. And Peter adds 9 to the spare. So all of a sudden, the champs have opened up an 8-pin lead. In just the course of 1 box, the challengers have gone from up 7 to down 8. And now they'll likely go down by more as Peter spares again in the 9th. And a 10, 91 through 9 for the challengers. Peter in the 10th working on a spare, spread eagle. So just 4, 103 through 9, and the lead is only 12. So challengers are fortunate in that even though they have just 91 through 9, they're only down by a dozen. Tim Lipke, you might remember, back in 1984, won our $10,000 championship show, picked up the $5,000 top prize by knocking off Jim Barber in the final. But Tim is still looking for his first mark with us. Peter Flynn takes a 7. And a 110 to open. Tim Lipke with a 10 box and a 101. So even though the challengers are not bowling anywhere close to what they're used to bowling, they're only down by 9 pins at this point. And a siding string, Gary Duffett. And Tim Lipke, the challengers, have to make up 9 pins here. Gary after the 6 for a spare, and he's got it. So they're on their way back. I'll take a moment to remind you that next week we will not be on, but we'll be back with Candlepin Doubles the following week on June 13th. All of them on the spare. So the champs now all of a sudden have to hustle. We've seen this thing flip and flop and flip and flop through the last, half dozen boxes. And a 10. Bob at 19 after a couple. Gary Duffett, though, at 30 plus a couple of bonus balls. And there's the first one, and it's a thin one. Just 4. And Gary gets half of them, so at 7 on the strike. Bob Kelly blows down a spare. And a 10 box. Anytime you're left with a spread eagle and you can come up with a 10 box, you're bowling pretty well. 47 through 3 for the challengers, 29 plus for the champs. So overall the lead is 9 pins for Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke. On the spare. The spread is 16 in this one through 3. So overall it's a 7-pin lead for our challengers, Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke. A 9 and an 8. So it's an 8-pin lead for Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke with 6 to go. For spare. No. Bounced it wide. Gary takes a 7 box and takes a seat. 63 through 5 for Gary Duffett. And Bob Kelly still can't find that 10 pin, so it's a 9 and 48 through 5. So overall the lead is 6 pins for Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke. 15-pin lead in this one for the challengers, and remember they were down by 9 after the opening string. Well, you knew it had to happen at some point. Tim Lipke with a 130 average went through his first 5 boxes without a mark, and he knocks them all down in the 6th. lead at this point is 7 plus however many Tim gets on his first 2 bonus balls. So it's at least a 15-pin lead. Peter Flynn needs some marks in a hurry. Spare on the strike. And Peter Flynn with a tough spare as well in the 7th to stay alive. A 17-pin lead for the challengers at this point. A 15-pin lead through 7. With 3 to go. Peter Flynn has 15 to make up. Tim Lipke, 4 horsemen right side. There's an opening. Will the champs go through it? No. Well, they go through an opening, but not the one that is going to get them another win. Couple of 9s. So here's how it looks. A 24-pin lead in this one for the challengers. Take off the 9 that they were behind in the opener, and it's 15 pins still that they have to make up in the final 2. Should Tim Lipke be able to knock this off, it would pretty much wrap things up. No. Got to have this. No. So we'll have some new champions. Tim takes a 10 and 118. Peter with 10 and 94 through 9. So unless we have a triple strike, it's not going to happen again for the champs. Spare in the 10th for Tim Lipke. Peter Flynn finishes it out with a 10 and 104. Pretty consistent bowling this week, 110 and 104, but not the kind of consistency they would have liked to have had, such as they had a week ago. Remember, they had a 143 and 145. So the scores today a far cry from a week ago, and as a result, Bob Kelly and Peter Flynn will not be coming back. We say goodbye to Peter Flynn and Bob Kelly. That wasn't long, huh?
I don't know what to say.
Well, you had a couple of weeks ago, you had a great 288 total. You just couldn't do it again, I guess, huh?
No, I guess not. About 70 pin shot.
Pretty obvious on my part. All right, well, we'll see you guys again next year. Thanks for coming by. All right, Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke are our new champions now. Tim, I know you want to talk about that 4-box, right?
Not really, no. Let me forget it.
It's a good comeback after a slow start, huh?
Yeah, they had us. They could have really buried us in the first string, and fortunately, it didn't work out that way, and we came back in the last string.
All right, a little longer than your last trip around, you hope. There's 1 win down. Who knows how many?
Yeah, I think we bowled better the last time and got creamed anyway, so it just goes to show you got to be in the right place at the right time.
All right, well, we'll see what you can come up with next week. Gary Duffett and Tim Lipke next week will be taking on Peter Williams and Rich Gagnon. Now, I said next week, but actually we're not going to be on next week. We're preempted for some reason. We'll be on in a couple of weeks then as these guys go for win number 2. And I want to mention our official scorer here, Don Riley, will be on coming up June 2nd playing Scrabble on another network. Watch Don spell big words like dog and cat on national TV and win all kinds of money for that. All right, but we'll